Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me on the weekly Uno platform live coding. Where the I spend about an hour developing features and looking at what's new on Uno and what we've been doing, and eventually and some of the time to going back to features that we've developed on the stream previously. And that's what we're going to be doing a bit today. And I hope you are going to be having fun with me. It's quite interesting to be able to do that every time. I hope that the people are also enjoying the recordings of this. We're also streaming today on YouTube, and something that we weren't doing before. So if you want to go on YouTube, I'm gonna paste actually the the uh, the link to the YouTube channel if it wants to. There we go. Hey, Maikan. Thanks for joining. So today we're going to be looking at a few things. So last week we took a look at different things around the use of SkiaSharp. And that was quite interesting because there were questions about how can I use SkiaSharp in .NET 5, and I answered at the time that there was something that was needed to be included in SkiaSharp so that the support would get added for .NET 5. And one of the reasons for that was the fact that when we're building for .NET 5, there's in multiple versions of .NET, there's a need to align the version of Emscripten with the version that's used by SkiaSharp. And I made a small PR on the SkiaSharp repo, which Matthew rewrote because the build system and the CI pipeline that's in SkiaSharp is quite huge, and we don't have access to it outside. It's mainly in DevDivs, Microsoft DevDivs servers, so we don't have access to it. So it makes it a bit difficult to troubleshoot. But still, the PR got passed during the past week, and what we now have is a new package of SkiaSharp that is 283 preview 24, and that version, if we open it, we're going to see that there's now multiple versions of the same binary, each one for the for each version of Emscripten. So it's been scanning for viruses, and when we open that package in NuGet Package Explorer, we'll be able to see that in the build folder, there's a new folder now that's called libskiasharp.a, and it contains all the versions that this package supports, so that there's no yes, I am busy today. Hi, Johnny. So there's that libskiasharp, and so that there are multiple versions there. So we get even the 2012 is still not yet used by Mono. Actually, we could actually go and check that one out to see if it actually is used by .NET. If we go to .NET runtime, and we go and check into sources, Mono, and we could take a look at the WASM here in the Makefile. We're going to see if it was updated. So no, .NET at this time, and by extension the .NET Bootstrapper, is still using 2.0.11, and the version that we've included for SkiaSharp now includes 2.0.12. So we're even further down the road. So there's already a newer version of Emscripten, but still, it helps being aligned. So what that means is that now the fork that the Uno team has been building, so we've been building for adding support for Skia, is not needed anymore. And that also means that we can now use SkiaSharp with .NET 5. And let's take a look at that. So I've changed that solution from last time. So if you remember, that was a solution that was only containing an SK XAML canvas, and so that canvas was only rendering using software rasterizing, and that was interesting. But the problem is that software rasterization is a problem. So I'm running on the 4K screen here, and rendering 4K pixels is something that that takes a while to display properly. So there's the new, we'll say it's actually not new, but it's newly supported by SkiaSharp for Uno, WASM specifically. And so there's a SK swap chain panel. And so that one is actually doing the same thing this one does, but using WebGL instead. So one thing that we can do is go take a look at what that panel actually does. So you can see here I've done a few things like X binding to a checkbox. So you can do things like not and inverting the check here so that you can swap between those two. So let's go take a look at this. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you something else. So we were talking last week about something with it was the linker for .NET 5 that was taking a bit more time that it was supposed to be taking. And during the stream, I was doing some tests and actually used an incorrect version of the bootstrapper. It was not the one that was supposed to be using the newer version of the linker. And it turns out that there's about 8 to 10% improvement in performance when using the newer version of the bootstrapper. So the newer version, which uses the newer version of the linker. I mean, it's not that big, but still good to take. So that means that the team, the .NET team is investigating this, so that's pretty good. So that means that we can expect having performance improvements in that section, in that area in the future. So to make sure that the build is actually going faster, I'm disabling the link here. So wasm shell linker enable false, so that we can we don't spend too much time looking at the code there, the code build. So now the interesting part about that demo is that we can actually switch between those two, and we're going to take a look at the HTML that is generated so that we can see if it's actually using something that goes along the lines of WebGL or if it's just doing something else. And so you might see on the side here, it's supposed to be big enough for it to be visible in the stream, but you can see here that there are files here, 139.11, things like that. And interestingly, I thought that those files would have been removed by the fact that we in SkiaSharp there's a visible false property, but it looks like for some reason they're still appearing. So maybe there it is. Now I see. Okay, so the reason that they're appearing is that they're visible, but if you do show all files, they will appear. So and that's the reason that those files are appearing. So if you don't want to see those files because they're not actually useful for development, if you hide the files in show all files here, it's going to go away. So that's one good thing. So that's it. So let's see where that one goes. So it should be building. It should be building okay this time. So it actually needs to run with Mscripten. So it needs to set up everything else. So that's probably the part where there was some part of the bootstrapper that needs to run. And we could probably take a look at that one, but maybe let's see how far we go with that demo. So we should be good. Let's see. Yeah, still running a little bit. Okay, so that's wasm script and finalize. Okay, we're done. So it's building. Let's see where that goes. Okay, so it runs. And what we have here now is a software rendering here. And when we click on that button, it goes over to hardware rendering. So it's just two surfaces with the same color. It doesn't show that there's any performance improvement there. Hi, Pete's. Hey, how's it going? So it switches between the two, so it allows to see so that we're displaying something the right way. So now let's see the XAML, the DOM for that one. So if I go over to, let's say I go for that one, if I click on that one, I'm gonna get the checkbox, the grid, and then I'm going to get two things here. So there are two canvases. So it's a bit more difficult to determine that it's actually using WebGL stuff, but we can see that in another location. So when I swap those two, well, we can see that the visibility changes, but it's not pretty useful there. We can see that there are actually two types. But let's go and take a look at the sources here and see. So SkiaSharp, is there something on the swap chain panel? There we go. Okay, so we got the swap chain request animation frame and things like that. So if we put a breakpoint here, do we break here? Oh, wow! It crashed a status access violation. So it crashed the browser runtime. Interesting. Okay, so let's give it a try again. Does it break the? Wow, interesting. Okay, so let's see. So it's the dev bits of Chrome of Edge. Let's see if we go to Chrome Canary. Does it work? Boom. Yeah, exactly. It's boom. So that's the kind of thing that you can't do much about. I mean, it's the debugger that crashes the browser. I mean, I'm just setting a breakpoint in a JavaScript file, so it's not something that's supposed to be breaking everything, but still happens. So let's see if Chrome Canary does something else. Ah, that's much better. Okay, so it's fixed in Canary. Yeah, so that's good to know. And we can see here that we're in a file that's in a class that's named SK swap chain panel, and that one is doing fancy things with canvas and 3D stuff and WebGL. So we can see here that one's probably already created, so we won't see anything. So we got the request animation frame. So that's the update every time there's something that changes. So let's refresh, and we can see if we're actually going to the location where there's WebGL stuff that's happening. So yeah, you can see here that there's a create context, and we have a canvas ID with so that's a GC handle that's coming from .NET, so that we can find that canvas back when we're running on the .NET side. But we can see here that we're sorry, we're actually creating a context for a WebGL. So we're really doing some WebGL stuff. So that means that if you have something that is in need of performance, that is going to be really, really fast. So we're about to probably create some benchmark to see what kind of performance improvements we're getting from running between hardware and software rendering. Okay, so that's the news for the SkiaSharp side in .NET 5. So if you're interested in running for some .NET 5 stuff with the Skia, now you can just use the out of the box SkiaSharp support for Uno platform and WebAssembly. So that's pretty good. Okay, so on the next topic, let's talk about a contributor that provided a PR that actually fixed a quite subtle issue. The bug was that if you're creating a control in your code that inherits from the line control or a rectangle or whatever kind of circle and another type of no, not circle but ellipse that you're doing in your control, then the control would display nothing. And it turns out that the contributor took a look at that and went and debugged Uno and found out that there was a subtle issue with their use of custom controls that were exposing a different type of HTML element. So inside of Uno, by default, a UI element, so a line is a UI element, is going to be providing itself with a div element. So that's why when you go and run your application, well, I don't have any running here, but when your application is running, it's gonna be by default providing a div element as part of its DOM counterpart in HTML. But you can change that by adding an HTML element attribute on the control, And what that does is basically when you create that control, instead of adding a div, it's going to make whatever HTML element that you need to have. So in that context, I wanted to have this. So those are our runtime tests. So it allows me to validate that when I create a line, by default, it's an SVG element. And when I create a myLine element, that's where the issue lied. The control myLine, even though it's inheriting from line, the value that was happening here was a div element. So that meant that the control that was supposed to be adding something inside of it as an SVG element was not adding it. So it was not reproducing. It was not correct. It was not showing anything. And it turns out that there were actually one more issue, which was that if I inherit from a control that overrides the HTML element as well, then that one would actually not work also, because that element was not looked up properly. So that's the fix from the contributor, and thank you. So that's pretty nice. So it was something that was overlooked because the scenario was not tested in Uno, so now it is. And also the fact that we were trying to get custom attributes on the HTML on the current type, so on that type specifically, and the inheritance was disabled by default, so we weren't go look at the inherited members that were there. So that's one of the fixes that were there. So thank you for taking a look at that. We're always happy to see that people are diving into Uno and trying to fix the issues, and we can take the ball afterwards. If you're doing something and you don't know exactly, you found the issue but you don't know exactly how that should be fixed. That was the case there, and the test wasn't enough for us to validate completely. We took the ball and continued the fix. So that's the shout out for the update. So don't be shy and try contributing to Uno, and ask questions on our Discord if you have anything that doesn't work properly or anything like that. So that's the second topic that I want to discuss today, and we're going to be diving into an actual issue that we're having in Uno. That was actually open a while back, but we didn't get to fix that one. And it's in the PersonPicture control. So in the PersonPicture control, there's some kind of a no reference exception that's happening, and not sure exactly why. So we're gonna go and try to find what happens there, and if we can try to reproduce the actual issue. So that issue was opened originally without any without an actual repro. Oh, it's actually where's there a repro? Okay, so there was no repro, so it makes it a bit more difficult to understand why that happens. But we're going to try to find that one out. So let's dive into some Uno. And see if we can fix that issue. So let's open Uno. So actually, we're going to be doing something first. Let's open a different instance, and we're going to create a new solution that just contains. So every time we try to find something and for which there's no repro case, we try to create a new one. So we're making sure that we can properly repro that issue. So if we can repro that issue, that's going to be good. If we can't, we're going to jump on something else. So let's create a new app. So PersonPicture, a reference exception. And let's dive into reproducing this. So I see there are 7 people listening on YouTube. Hello. I hope you're enjoying that session. And if you have any questions, just ask in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer or follow up. Or if you find that that topic is boring, maybe we can change to something else. Okay, so let's try to add a person picture here. So the person picture control is not particularly complex. It's a control that Let's go into, okay, so that's the issue that has been opened. So you can see here that the list is not full. That's an issue that has been opened into on the community. So if you want to upvote, you can. That's going to help. That's going to help a lot. So that issue specifically is legacy style projects are not present in the XAML project selector. So it's an issue that's problematic if you're a new user and you want to create that. You're not seeing the UWP project. That's a problem. So if you're if you're doing some Uno development and you're using Visual Studio 16.9 preview, you're gonna get that issue. So you can upvote it so that it gets more attention from Microsoft. I'm gonna post the link to that issue in the chat. There. Okay, so let's close the solution for now, so we can open it back and see that we get the access to UWP. So there we go. Okay, so we're going to be adding a stack panel, and then we're going to put a person picture there. Is UnoConf returning this year? Yes, it is. We'd like it to be in person, but who knows? For now we haven't decided yet. Maybe it will, maybe it will not, depending on the travel restriction and vaccinations and things like that. So we don't know, but for sure there will be an UnoConf, and yeah, it's gonna be amazing. That's for sure. So person picture. So let's see. Actually, we had. If we take a look again at the Uno playground, we had a person picture. We had a person picture snippet. So let's see. Person picture, I think it's there. Person picture. We can actually take that one directly and have it. Well, let's use all those. Just gonna drop all those directly inside here so it behaves. Let's see if it behaves properly. Okay, so let's run that application and see where that goes. So we're running the UWP one. It's in x86. It's running, and okay, it shows the right things. So this is looking okay, likely. So that's pretty good. So now let's go take a look. Let's say in GTK, for instance. Does it do something right? So the issue was telling that changing the number or the name or something like that would crash. Would crash with a no reference exception. So that may be something that we need to take a look at. So the reason it doesn't work here is because we don't yet support. So it's bitmap image brushes. So it's bitmap brushes. So that's what the default control uses, and but the rest is showing up properly. So just the image that's not showing up. Okay, so there's an open issue for this, and definitely going to take a look at that. Image brush, merci, Carl. Okay, so let's see if we can recreate that crash. So the control seems to work properly. But if we take a look at the issue itself, let's take a look. So it's the initials generator 261. So we're gonna be opening Uno in the proper context. Okay, so we're gonna take the Skia one. It's gonna be easier because it also loads a bit faster. So it will probably help. So yeah, we generally open using filters, and if you're new to the stream, I do that every time there's an opening of a solution. But the Uno solution is big enough that if you open all projects all the time, then basically Visual Studio crashes because it's too large. It reaches the 32 bits memory limit. So we use solution filters so that we only load what's needed for the current task at hand. So in that context, I want to only build for Skia, so it's going to be just loading up the project that are Skia related. So we're going to be going to, not that one, that's for sure. Let's go to the initial generator. It's likely to not have changed that much. Let's go to that line. Okay, so it failed at 261 here. So there's probably something that changed a little bit because this is not supposed to be a problem. So it could be that because the issue was opened a long time ago, it may have changed since then. So it's get character type. So it could be that actually we may have changed something since then. So maybe it got fixed already. So let's take a look at the history. Align PersonPicture with the latest WinUI source. So maybe it was fixed already. Let's see. Martin may have passed by and fixed that issue. Okay, so initial generator. If we compare with the previous version, were there any changes there? So so that's probably the difference in lines. So there's a reference here. And oh, okay, so look at that. So that's probably something that Martin fixed a while back. But yeah, sure, it happens on Android, but for that kind of code, because it's the same code on all platforms, it's likely to do the same thing. And taking a look at the code, it's likely that if the character type and the string here is null, it would have failed before because there's no null checking there. So Martin added this, so that's probably why the bug was fixed at the time. So yeah, the issue is likely to be fixed, but let's make sure that we don't have it still. So what we can do is, let's say for instance add a next bind here to a property that's going to be null, so not the number. Let's do that one. Let's do a next bind to a property that's called myNullString, and let's go add that property there. I'm gonna make it as a dependency property, so let's do something like that. So there's a snippet that exists. So if you type prop dp, so a property dependency property, and you type tab twice, it's going to expand to a dependency property. So the reason I'm doing this is that I want that that string to be updated so that it can change from null to something else. So main page, and no, not main pane. So that one is annoying in the latest preview. For some reason, the IntelliSense engine is stalling up like that for no good reason. So you press cancel and it works, but it's annoying. Okay, so let's go to null here. So by doing this, what I'm doing is basically allowing for my property here to be updated. So I can just change the mode here so that it becomes two-way. And when I'm going to be updating that to something else, let's say by using a button, for instance. So I can use a button, so click me. And I can do click and use xbind again on click me. I don't know if... No, it does not generate. Okay, so that's not a problem. So let's say unclick me, and we're going to be changing that myNullString to something else. So let's do datetime toString. Okay, that's an unstable string, so that's good. Okay, so let's try that again and see. I think we're going to be able to put breakpoints inside of Uno and see where that one goes. Okay, so if I click here, so it changed to something different, probably because it's trying to take the two numbers here, so probably splitting in two words. So 2p is going to be It's not giving me that. Okay, for some interesting reason. Oh, that's the debugger that's stalling for some reason. Okay. Okay, let's try it again. The debugger was failing. Okay. Okay, so it took the 2 here and the P over there. So kind of like it tried to find a initials inside of a date. So that's why it's 2P. Okay, that's good. Okay, so it doesn't fail. So what we're gonna try and see, it's because there's support for source link. Let's see if we can dive into a little bit more there and see if we can go to the files that are supposed to fail. Okay, does F12 work here? No, it does not. Maybe it's because I have not enabled source link in that version of that instance of Visual Studio. So let's see, source server support, source link is enabled, but for some reason it didn't work. So maybe it could be that I don't have the source for that one. That could happen. Load symbols, does it work? No, it does not. So maybe I don't have those symbols there for that one. See, it's does Visual Studio say something about it? No, it does not. Let's try again. Maybe there will be some message. No. Oh, okay. So it tried but didn't work. Okay. So one way to fix it would be to build Uno for that specific one, but I don't have it here. So let's see if we can go there still and see if it really is the right fix. So we have Uno here, and we're going to just change that one to a later version of Uno. So what I'm going to be doing is building Uno to override the version of the NuGet package that is used. So not the official one, so the one that comes from NuGet, but on one that I build locally with some changes and debug info if need be. This is interesting because it's supposed to be there's supposed to be source link enabled for that project, but it seems like it got either disabled or not working anymore. So we're going to be changing that afterwards. So let's do some updates, and we're going to be adjusting for all those. Okay, so I update all the Uno UI packages, and we're going to be changing in Uno. We're going to be changing the overridden version of the overridden version of the package, so that the application is using the right one. So let's go to this one. So this is a file that you can override and change the version number here to something else. And the something else for that version is going to be 35300. So I'm changing this and going to here, and we're just going to be building the project for the runtime. That's going to be enough. So what it will do is just override the NuGet cache with a newer version of Uno that contains the symbol for that version. So we can actually drill into and see why that may happen. But in the meantime, we can probably take a little bit look at what that means. And it's called from initials from contact, and that contact is built from a contact. But the contact here, if it's set from a string, it's probably doing something with a string and splits it. So we're gonna try to find that one out. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, that's not too bad. There are some errors, but they're not supposed to be causing trouble. So we'll see how far we can go. If it's still causing trouble, we're going to be removing a few things. So while it's building, what we may want to take a look at afterwards is another issue that has been reported, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Oh, no, it's the single package app. So that one is going to be a bit interesting. So .NET supports the ability for Skia, or actually .NET application to be packaged as single packaged application. So just one package at a time, and just one executable. And there's a user that reported that the single packaging failed and did not so the application was starting but failing after starting. So we're going to be taking a look at that afterwards. Okay, so it built. Let's see if it works. It was a kind of a half build, so we'll see if we get the symbols still. We should be. Okay, so let's see if I just restore my new picture here and I start again. Do I get something interesting? Tizen support is preview for now. I mean, it's visually it's the same support as the one that's coming from GTK, for instance. So it's using the same backend. But with regards to supporting for the platform, where there are specific features of Uno that need to be implemented to get Tizen a bit more useful. For instance, focus visuals that we don't have that. So if you're on a TV and you're focusing something with your remote, then focus visual have to be there. And there are also touch support. So we do support a single pointer support, but touch is a bit more different. Is a bit different, and we don't have that support yet. So we're looking at adding that support pretty soon. Okay, so still not getting up. So it's probably because I didn't get the overwrite properly. It probably did not update the right files. So let's see. If I want to understand where the file that is actually running, where is it coming from? So what I can do is just take one type that comes from Uno, and let's say select GTK, for instance, so the one I'm interested in, and I go to definition for that one, and I can see that the file that's being used is the one that's coming from here. So 3.5 Dave 300. So it should be the right one, but for some reason it did not update properly. So it could be because the file there did fail to build properly, or maybe there was something else that we were missing. So let's see if I do it again. Does it use the right file? So we're going to troubleshoot that and see why it did not get updated. So if we run once more, and if we don't get the symbols, that means that there was something that didn't work properly. Okay. No, it still doesn't work. Okay, so no symbols here means that the file that's being loaded is not the right one. And that's probably because there was some copy, and we've been chasing a bug inside of Uno. Oh, actually, could be. Let's see. So many of those files are said skipping symbols, but maybe module is optimized. Okay, so that's, and debugger just my code is enabled. Okay, so that doesn't help. So let's go disable that one first. Just my code is enabled, so that's not good. Well, there you go. Okay, so it's an option that I disable most of the time, but because it's a custom instance that I use just for streaming, it's enabled. So if you're debugging Uno, you want to disable just my code, and that's probably something that we're going to need to add to the documentation, because if you have that checked on the documentation, you will definitely forget about it. So, and you won't be able to debug Uno, and that's going to be a problem. So if you disable just my code, then you can see here that all the stacks, the stack's actually the right one. And if I double click on parts of the stack, then I can go and dive into, let's say, erase click and button base and others. Okay, so now if I go back to my PersonPicture, okay, so you can see here that the path is actually the one that comes from my local machine and not something that comes from the remote side. And that's probably why, because that's probably why the source link wasn't working before is because just my code was enabled, and it disables source link. So it makes it a bit difficult to diagnose. So let's open that initial generators file. We're going to open it in the context of the application that's being debugged. And we're going to go to, I think it was line, so let's get character type, and it was 263. Okay, so we're going to put a breakpoint here and see what happens when we click the button. Okay, so when we click the button, we have the complete date. So it's really the full okay, it's the full string that's being set directly on the contact name. So that means that if for some reason this was null, then it would have failed in the previous version of the code because there was no null checking on that variable. So the reason now when we're adding code into Uno, we generally enable the nullable reference feature that comes from C# 9, but that code is has been ported over from WinUI. So there's no nullable annotation that we can add too much in validating this. So one of the reasons this is probably something that doesn't happen in C++, because that code is available in C++, is that we translated over that type to a string, but it's likely to be an std string, so stdlib string in C++, and an empty string is not null, it's just empty. So in C++ you can do str.length or I don't remember, I think it's .size. It will not fail because it will be empty but not null. So that's the kind of checks that that needs to be added in a translation over to C#, because we're maybe missing on those. So yeah, that's an interesting take. So that's about it for the initial generator. We can see that adding null is probably not going to fail anything. So let's, if we restart the application, we're going to be able to see that even if null goes through, it doesn't fail. You can see John Doe here. We can see null, and in here it would have failed because str would have been null, then it would have been empty. Okay, so that's good. So that the bug is fixed. Yay! So that's one less rendress. So because it was on a plate, and you decided to take a look at that during the stream. So now let's go take a look at packaging an application using the .NET New API. So the issue in question is this one. Let me go get the link. So the issue in question is this one. So it's from GF Wang 30 days ago, and he said that he wanted to create a single file published, and then it would fail. So it is running this and is using the single packaging there, and it failed. He used the profile setting and self-contained deployment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try that right away. So let's do this. I think it would fail the same way most likely on Windows, so there's probably no need to do that on Linux. So let's try it out. So I want to publish to a folder. It's going to be just a folder, and it's a net5 publishing. And let's see if there are options that we can change. Show all options. Okay, there we go. So it's going to be self-contained. And file publish option is there, produce single file. So ready to run is an interesting option. There's probably something that we can take a look afterwards. I don't think it works yet. There's probably a few things that we need to fix in Uno to get that to work. But the idea is it's not AOT in a sense, but it's kind of pre-jitting. So the runtime is going to be running the application, is going to be running the JIT operation for the whole binary, making it somewhat bigger, but a lot faster to start up because everything is already JITted. It's quite different from AOT because when you're running in a JITted environment, even if it's NGen or pre or ready to run, There's still a bit of jitting that runs for things like delegates and some kind of trampolines that are run underneath, or for everything that is generics related. Generics need to have a JIT running in that context. And when you're running full AOT, which is the case in iOS, for instance, or it can be on WebAssembly, in that context, when you're running full AOT, there's no JIT at all. It has some caveats, makes it faster in some cases, a bit slower in some others. So, but that's not the case here. We're not talking about full AOT. So let's try to build that and see where that goes. So we're targeting just Windows and producing a single file, and let's see what that means. So let's publish this, and we're going to try to run. What is it doing? Publish. Okay, published folder. It's building. Publish. Okay, so if we go to that folder, we're going to be having a file that we can run. Here. Okay, so we have we still have external dependencies, but those are not .NET dependencies. Those are native dependency, but the rest is a giant executable file of 70 megabytes or so. Well, Andres, you can close it now. I think that's easier. You can take it. So it's a large app, and one of the reasons for this is that the linker didn't run, so it kind of packaged everything up inside the application, and it's something that we can take a look here. So there's a trim unused assembly, and that's the linker. So that's the IL linker that the Xamarin iOS Android we're using for a while. Same thing for macOS, and now that is included in .NET 5 for WebAssembly, and that's critical to those applications, because you're downloading something from the web, so that or from the store, so that's pretty important to have run. But when we're talking about an application that runs on the desktop, 68 megabytes may not be that much of a problem, but it still is big. So we'll try afterwards, if we have time, to enable that. So let's try to run that application. So if we go here, and let's run this application. So it's our PersonPicture. What does it say? Nothing. Okay, it says nothing. So it doesn't start, it doesn't say anything. So one thing that's to know when running in release mode for the GTK head is that by default it disables on Windows. It disables the console. So if you want that back, you can just use change the exe or the WinExe, which doesn't have any console, to the exe one. So let's do that. Let's publish it again and see if we have something different then. Hey Tony, nice seeing you here. So I see we're at 70 viewers. Thank you for listening in. Quite pleasant to see so many people enjoying seeing and diving into Uno. So let's try to run that application again and see if we have a different set of things. Okay, so it failed because it says a library not found for GTK. So one of the reasons it does that kind of things is that GTK may not be installed on my machine. So I'm puzzled a little bit as to why it would say that. We're going to try to run the application, because the application ran before. It actually ran before. So if it runs without .NET, if it runs without single file packaging, that means that GTK is installed. But if it fails when running single file packaging, that means that there's something else that doesn't work. So it tries to load something up that's not supposed to be there, or something like that. So that's some good thing to know. What we're going to try is to run that application under Linux first and see if there's something there that behaves differently. Because Linux is a bit different with regards to loading up binaries. So let's do it that way. So let's publish again. I'm going to be starting the XVC SRV something. I never remember the name. XV. No, see, it's VC. VCX SRV. No, not that name. VCX, there it is. VCX SRV. Sometimes, I had to search Xlaunch. Okay. Okay, so I'm starting the X thing here. And so now the build worked. I'm going to be opening a new Ubuntu shell and see where that can go. So we're going to be doing some WSL path magic so that we go to the proper folder. No, remove the slash at the end, otherwise it will escape the end of the path. And then we're going to take a look at what's there. So we have a libskiasharp.so, and we have a PersonPicture GTK SK. So that's the one that I need to start. So if I do this, what happens? Okay, so it fails for a different reason this time. And what we could do, so that's pretty easy. Trying to find that one out in Uno is quite easy, because of the names. But let's see if we build that in debug, what happens. So if I do this and I change that to debug any CPU, and I still build that again and see if it fails differently, or let's say if it fails but gives symbol that we can look at. So publish again, and we're going to go to a different path. I'm going to go to debug, net5. And where am I? So I should be, so net5 publish. Okay, so I went too far. Oh, no, there. Net5 publish. Is it the right folder? It's release, not because I didn't change the target location. So it's the same path. It's the same path with a different name. So okay, so let's go back to the original path that we had there. So let's see if we run the application again. What do we have? Still nothing much better. So it looks like for some reason it's removing the debug information. Okay, so that's one of the things that we're probably going to have to take a look at some point. But and if someone has some information about that, it would be interesting. The problem with that kind of publishing is that if you want to debug what you've produced in that mode, then you can't run it that way. So if there's a configuration or something that breaks the application when running in that mode, then you're pretty much stuck. So that's a bit of a problem. So let's go try and fix that issue specifically. So if we take a look at the stack trace, it says that package.get install location is likely empty or null. So let's go take a look at that in Uno. So get install location. So that is going to say, okay, so here we have what the get install location is doing. So it's the package information. It tells you your logo, tells you if the manifest is there, if you're with the installation date. So that one is, now it's probably not that useful. That's the default behavior. But you have display names, or if you set the information through, for instance, if you're in the PersonPicture application here, the tooling is going to be parsing the package manifest file. So like for instance, getting the display name here, publisher logo and logo. So it's actually a shared configuration file between the Skia app and the UWP app. But it's probably doing something interesting here. So what's likely to happen is that because all assemblies have been merged into one executable file, all assemblies have lost their location, which can be a problem. So that means that you can't know where the application's been installed, or where the binary is coming from. So that is actually a problem. So is there something else that we can troubleshoot there? So let's actually go take a look at that. If we go put a breakpoint on that one, if we do, let's try to do that in the application. So let's debug it normally without the original behavior. So we have the package class. Okay. Oh, code length references failed. Okay, so package is coming from Windows application model. It's probably a way to get the current one. If Visual Studio wants to give me the IntelliSense, so it's not. So let's go take a look at something else. It's probably coming from package here. So package, we have new package, so it's internal. Is there a package? So package is probably coming from something else. It's probably coming from, let's see, who's calling this? It's coming from, oh, current, sorry, I missed it. Okay, so that's current. So if you do package.current.installed location, installed location is going to be, yes, oh. Installed location. If we just do this, let's put a small breakpoint here and let's go take a look at what the runtime is doing there. So if we take the location, so here we see that we get a storage folder. We actually get the path to this one, but oh, so this is a step over. So let's go disable the step over. Yeah, I don't think it's a Linux path versus Windows path, because it says that it's empty. So if it were not empty or a Windows Linux path, it would just probably throw a different exception. So I would say, so we're gonna try to take a look, and we're gonna, let's say, put something like the current directory, for instance. That's not good enough, because you may start the application from another folder, which is not what we expect. But could be something different. Okay, so that is, so if I jump again, so I have new package here, install location. So install location is going to be doing this, and so the assembly here is, well, not so much here, but we have assembly location. Yeah, so this is a system reflection is not supported in that context. Okay, maybe if I put a breakpoint directly there, it will just not prevent me from seeing anything there. Okay, so it doesn't, the runtime doesn't let me debug that, probably because it's been compiled and released. That could happen. I built Uno in release, so it could be that because it's built in release, then debug symbols are removed a little bit. So let's change that, and let's go validate that if we do have something empty there, we just add something else. So we're going to set the current directory for now and see where that goes. So changing from release to debug takes a bit of time. And we're going to change that to use their current directory. So that's something. Let's see if there's something about single file publishing in .NET runtime that talks about this. single file publishing. Assembly, maybe. Are there issues with this? Yes, there are. Okay, so that not course app, .NET Core apps as a single file makes file name disappear from stack traces. So that's a pretty close issue. So if I have a stack trace, then it goes away. So what do they say? Oh, you have debug type. Okay, so we got debug type embedded. So if you do that, then we'll get embedded. So it would add some more information. So interesting. Include symbols in single file. Okay. Okay, so let's try a few things like that. Okay, so let's not change that first, but let's add the properties that we have there. So we have include symbols in single file. So we're gonna add that one to our application. So let's go here. It's likely to make that the app quite bigger, but for the purpose of debugging, it may be of interest. And okay. Let's see if we publish that again. Probably because I did something wrong in the initialization, maybe. What happened there? Including symbols in a single file bundle is not supported when publishing to .NET 5 or higher. Okay, so that's not going to help. Okay, so let's do debug type embedded, maybe. Would that do something? Let's go for debug type embedded. Does it work better this time? Fingers crossed. Okay, that works better. Okay, so let's see if I run that again on Linux. Does it say something different? No, it does not. Okay, so that doesn't change anything. So we don't have any stack trace that we can debug in single file. So that's gonna make troubleshooting a bit more difficult and debugging. So yeah, kind of looks like when you're debugging an application that has been published to either the Windows Store or the Android Store or App Store, whatever store that's running, and you don't have much to debug with, except that it's completely local. So that's not a particularly good experience. Okay, so let's try to see if we fix that one, and we change the path here. So if we do and string. So that, I'm just going to try that afterwards. So it duplicates the creation, so it's not good. But let's just validate if that gives the right result first. So we may want to create the stored location somewhere and not just read it twice. That could be something of interest. Okay. So we're building again. Okay, it's building again the source generator. So before we had there was an exception about files being locked, and that's likely because of the fact that Visual Studio or the other application was, so that one, the PersonPicture and RE, was locking the files because we had just built the application right before. So so now it's gone because MS Build or other lingering processes that were using the packages that we just built, we were trying to build was still being locked. So that's not the case anymore. So that's good. So on the other things that have been happening recently is that, and the question was raised multiple times, is that when you create a library in here, so you create a .NET an UNO platform cross-targeted library, it's actually cross-targeted. So it's running, you have a target framework with many frameworks at the top. And the problem is that when you're building all the targets, and there's nothing in Visual Studio that will say that if you're building for UWP, you need to build for the other targets. And there was a commit that was passed recently in the MS Build, or I think it's the project system repository, that says that the Visual Studio is going to be picking up fast up-to-date checks for the platform specific to the project being built. So that's going to save some time. So if you're building a cross-targeted library using Uno, or not Uno, but cross-targeted libraries in general, that is going to be updated, and it's going to work a lot better. Okay, so now we have that. So let's see if we publish that again. So I think Uno built properly. Yeah, it built properly. So let's build that application again and see if when we're running this in Ubuntu, we have something different. Ooh, that's different. Like it. Okay, so it really was null. So it was not a Linux path or Windows path issue, but it still is a problem because the fact that we don't know where the application is running from is another type of issue. So maybe there's something else that we can find there to replace that and get some other information. So if you have the actual location of the files, that's good. But maybe there's another type of information that we can get. So that's the right application to run. Okay. So that means that single change makes the application run using single file publishing. So that's pretty good. So let's go see if we can find another class in, so it would be a class in .NET or .NET 5, AD and .NET 5 API that would say where the application is running from. So there's the assembly loader context. Assembly load context. I never remember exactly which name that was. So that is, so let's see if it's assembly load context. So assembly load context is a class that the .NET runtime uses to determine where the files or assemblies need to be loaded. And there's also rules about what's needed to be run. And there's a default context here. So maybe there's a way to find that out. And let's see if we can get something from there. So I'm running it through the debugger, so not in the single file, to see if I can find a property that would be of interest there. So the assembly load context, what's there inside? Not much. There's not much. We can see the assemblies that have been loaded. But that's not going to be of much help because the location of the file will not be the right one. The location here will be null, so that's not supposed to happen. So that's not a good one. So let's see, is there something in assembly load context that could be method maybe that would give us some context from where to resolve the content, resolve the files. So not from here. This current load context, so that's not pretty useful. What do we have in the system loader? Ooh. Visual Studio didn't like my copy paste. Okay. Hello? Okay, so that would be something that Visual Studio didn't like because it wasn't debugging, for instance. Okay. Not responding still. Giving 3 seconds. If it's not back in 3 seconds, I'm killing it. Okay, it's not back. Ah, it was almost back. Okay, so let's try it again. And we're going to just be looking at if we find something with that. And if not, yes, I'm breaking things. Visual Studio, they definitely don't like me. Well, I mean the preview, so it doesn't help. But I'm pretty sure it happens also with the non-preview ones. Okay, so assembly.context is not helping, so maybe let's see an environment. So I had system loader. What's in system loader that I could find? Maybe there are new types there that could be useful. No IntelliSense. Okay. IntelliSense doesn't like me either. Yeah, that's something that I'm gonna have to report to the Visual Studio team. It's not particularly useful there. Oh no, it was something else. Okay, no. So let's go for environment. And maybe in .NET 5 there's something different there that could help. So we have the current directory. There's a system directory. Is there another type of folder that could be of help there? No, they didn't add that. Okay, so that's probably going to be something that we need to look at, because I don't know where we can find that one out. We cannot use the system directory as well. It's likely to be system32, and it's probably not going to be useful that much. Let's validate that, but it's probably not the right one. So get entry assembly doesn't give anything. That's a tricky one. Why is it failing? So, oh, I have too many S's. Okay. So it's going to be system32. So not very useful there. Okay, so if you know about it, and you know how to get the current folder for an application running, that would be so app context base directory should work if include all files property set. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, let's take a look at that app context. Okay, base directory. Interesting. Okay. So let's see if we do a damn. Even the snippets don't like me today. CW is supposed to do console.writeLine, and it didn't. Oh, it does. Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's add that here, and you're gonna see if we just build that. So thanks for the tip, Hextagon. So let's build. So let's publish again, and see if we have the proper path. Okay, so let's go back to and we do have a path. Awesome. Nice. Thanks. It works. So that means that we're going to be able to use that, but not yet, because that's a .NET 5 API, and it's not something that we can use in Uno yet, because we have a .NET Standard 2.0 here, and I don't think the app context. Oh, it's available in .NET Standard 2. Oh well. Oh, that's going to be easy. Okay, so there's no trouble there. So we can probably use that instead of trying to guess the path. So probably going to be using that. So that's so we can either use the path for the path from the assembly location. That's best, because that's the actual location of the assembly. But if we don't have that, we can fall back to the app context base directory, so we get the proper path to forward to get install location. So that makes that, if that path is not the right one, everything that's related to getting your icon that's displayed when running the application like that, well, it's not there, but anyway. So everything that goes along with getting fonts, getting assets, and things like that would not work. So it has to be the right folder. Okay, Well, that was good collaboration. Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. As like every time, you know, it's I'm taking a I'm I'm starting to enjoy that. I can crash other people's machine remotely when it debugs too hard. Maybe. Well, that's still my machine, so I that's just my machine crashing. That not the others, the other people's machines for now at least. So have a good week, and if you have any suggestions about what you want to see in during those streams, just let me know. Give me a tweet, or you and join us on Discord, and give me a follow on Twitch, so you know when when the stream starts. We do have perfectly crashable. Yes, everyone's perfectly capable of doing this. That's for sure. Have a good week, and see you next Tuesday. Bye.